Hi, I'm Dustin, and this is Revved Up Design. If you can relate to the opening video, or if you felt defeated in the past by getting your alignment correct, then you found yourself in the right place, because today is all about alignment. Today, we're talking about alignment. Specifically, how you can achieve perfect alignment on almost all your projects moving forward. So if you're tired of your project looking like this, and want your projects to look more like this, then stick around, because I'm going to show you how to get that perfect alignment and how to make it repeatable. And here's the best part, without having to worry about relying on the camera. Today, I'm going to show you two different methods. The first being on a project that you cut yourself and that you want to print on. And the second being on things you purchase that you want to print on. If you want to achieve perfect margins on the left, right, top, and bottom of your prints without a lot of overspray or without losing a lot of ink, then follow along, because I'm going to show you a repeatable, easy to follow method that's going to get you those perfect alignments almost every single time. Today we're going to start in Xtool Studio, and I'm going to show you how I cut out a blank and then use that information to get a perfectly aligned print. Let's go over to the computer and get started. In today's first example, we're going to jump into Xtool Studios because we're going to do what's called a cut then print. So I'm going to jump in, I define our shape, and then we're going to go ahead and go into the EufyMake software and print on the object. Join me along now in the Xtool software. Okay, we can see we have taken a snapshot of our bed. I've got a piece of basswood in there, 3 millimeters. I'm then going to go ahead and add my current image that we're going to be cutting out. Now I'm going to allow the program to rescale it because I'm going to go ahead and enter in a specific size for this picture. So I'm going to change the width to 60 millimeters, and that's the size that I want to cut out for my blank. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and then from here I'm going to hit the trace button. Now normally if you do this, it's going to try to capture individual items inside of the image that you uploaded, but we actually don't want that. We want just the outline. So that's pretty good outline right there. I'm going to hit save. And you just want to play with those sliders to affect the changes that you want. Somewhere between the three of them, you can usually get an outline quite crisply. So we'll go ahead and drag our outline away and remove the photo. We don't need that any longer. All right, now I am going to edit this a little bit because I don't want to cut out this little winglet here. So I'm going to do that by double clicking on the image. And then I'm just going to click on these waypoints and then hit backspace to delete them. I want to leave that one there, so I'm going to jump over this one now. Yep, I'm happy with that. So then I'm going to click done. I'm going to back out. And then I'm going to arrange this. I've already cut out one sample on this, so I know that this specific shape can take 2 of these. There we go. And that will do it for me. So we'll just go ahead and highlight both of them, change this to cut. You can see I already have basswood selected and the height selected. So we are now ready to cut these. So I'm going to go ahead and process that and start. And I will be back with you as soon as those are done. All right, we have successfully cut our blanks out, and we just have to do one more step in order to jump into the EufyMake software, and that is to go back to the Xtool software, and I'm going to show you what you need to save from there in order to make the next step happen. So jump back into the software with me now. All right, so here we can see we are back in the Xtool software. We can see that we have our cutouts from where we chopped off the previous one. What you're going to want to do is delete one of the 2 outlines, because if you were to do what we're about to do, you would save multiple outlines on a single image, and we don't want that. We just want a single outline, and then we can duplicate it from this point in any other software, depending on how many of whatever item you are going to be replicating. So we have our cutout. I'm going to click on the X in the top of the menu and then click on File and Export. Now this is going to automatically come up in the Xtool format and we do not want to save it in that format. So hit the drop down box and we're going to select PNG because again, we do not want a background on this. We're only looking for the traced outline. So I'm going to hit confirm on that. That's going to open up a box so I can name it. I'm going to name this Shark Outline. And we'll save that. Okay, we've successfully saved that. And now we're done in the Xtool Studio software. So we're going to jump now to EufyMake. So let's jump back into the EufyMake Studio now. As you can see, I have the main page opened up. I'm going to click on an artboard. As you can see, I've already taken the snapshot feature and taken a picture of your artboard. And from here, you do this traditional of adding of your art. So we'll allow the resizing because I'm going to resize it again anyways, because I know that I want this to be 60 millimeters. All right, so there's my picture. Now, what's the problem? Well, we're working with a fisheye lens and an image that is stitched together from about 10 to 15 different images. So there's going to be distortion and there's going to be possibility of error in that. Now, while the EufyMake is fairly accurate, when you get out towards the edges and the corners, you can tend to see a little bit more distortion. So where you think you're placing something may or may not be correct. So instead of doing any guesswork, what I'm going to show you today is a foolproof way to get your alignment dead accurate. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take this guy and ignore him for now because we don't need that. Instead, we're going to open up our saved file. Now, most importantly, do not resize this one because we size this appropriate to this project. So I do not want to change the size. Okay, so there is our image, but it's kind of getting lost in the background here. So what we're going to do first is jump to 0 point, because this is how you're going to be printing from now on. So we've jumped over to the 0 point. If you have not done your bed calibration, you just need to do that one time per sticky mat. So if you do end up changing out your sticky mat, you will have to recalibrate. But if you did not replace the sticky mat, you can exchange the bed as many times as you want between the standard bed and the small bed. Or the standard bed or the flat small bed. So from here, you just need to decide how many you're going to make and where you want to place them. Now for my ease, I'm going to keep them located in the bottom half of this artboard, because when the slide comes out, it's going to be easier for me to see and to line up stickers, or excuse me, line up our printed items. So I'm going to do 2, because this is just for an example. So I'm going to do right click, copy, and paste. And you can line these up if you like to, or you can have them askew. This part does not matter because we're just dropping the outlines. So that's good. And the nice part about this is that these can be rotated in any way, shape, or form that you want. It does not matter. I'm not going to do that just because it's easier for me if they stay straight. There we go. And now I'm going to print these with, I'm going to do 4 layers just because I want a little bit more of a ridge on them. And we're going to leave the shark itself out. Now, as you saw on the artboard, we did not have anything on the bed. So what's going to happen is I'm going to physically print these on my bed. Now, I use a silicone mat. If you guys don't have a silicone mat and you want to protect the bed, you can always put down, I've seen people putting down transfer tape for like a cricket. I've seen people using blue painter's tape, or just a sheet of paper, whatever you like. Just know that this is a print on bed method. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit print. There we go. I'm going to start that. And I will jump back with you in about 5 minutes. Okay, I know it's going to be a little bit challenging to see, but right here we have put our outline for the first one and for the second one. So what are we going to do with this? Well, we have our blanks. I'm just going to set them right on top, and you will actually feel them kind of lock in to your print. Now this is not your ordinary print because it has got a lot of cuts in it, but that is exactly how it sits. Do the same thing here for this one. So this is also why I added a couple extra layers of white. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now those two are set properly. I am going to put a couple of the dummy blanks here in the middle that are the same height because I don't want the lasers to accidentally move this stuff. And in the middle is where the laser comes up and tests first. So I want the laser to hit the height of these exact same ones, but by putting these here in the middle, it's going to stop the laser in time to catch these 2 items. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to go back to the computer and we'll show you the next step. All right, we're now back at the EufyMake Studio software. We're going to jump back into the artboard that we started at, and we can see our 2 images right here. Now, this is another important step. We need to highlight both of these and select skip printing in the right hand side because we do not want to print these again. But now that we've done that, the next step is crucial. We want to lock these in place. So we're going to go to the Layers tab, and we are going to hit the lock on both of those layers. Okay, so now I can no longer select it, and because we checked no printing, and it is important to do that first because as soon as you lock the layers, it will not allow you to change that. They are now locked in place. So from here, we can now take our image and drop it in place on top of our cutout. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And because I chose the size in the Xtool software of the blanks to be at the 60 millimeters for the shark, I know that not only is my image correct, my outline correct, but the blank that's on the printer is also correct for this. So now we're going to duplicate this and paste it. I'm just going to pull over, do the exact same thing inside of this outline. There we go, pretty happy with that. I'm going to check what I want the layers to be printed as. And I find on basswood that it's a little bit better to put a little bit more white down if you want a more vibrant color. If you want a little bit more of the wood to show through, then you can leave these at 2, 3, or 4 layers to get the desired effect that you want. But for mine, we're going to go with 6 layers of white. Okay, so now, because we have chosen our images, and because we are on 0 point, we don't have to go through the long drawn-out process of getting these in the correct area on our flatbed. I don't have to take 10 different pictures and wait for the software to stitch them together. It's as simple as hitting print and then waiting a few seconds for it to send it to its check status. So what it's doing right now is measuring the height of the bed with the lasers. It's not taking snapshots, so this process is much quicker. So we'll just wait for this to complete, and we're ready to hit start. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and I will see you back in approximately 6.5 minutes when this is finished printing. And perfect. So, bring you in for a close-up here. We can see that we got all the way around, all the waves, bottom of the tail, these waves, and the shark fin. All without losing where we were, and no overspray on the bed. Same for this guy. Looks absolutely fantastic. And now, because of a great new feature on the EufyMake, I'm going to go ahead and take these off. Set those there. I printed cut 2 additional blanks, I should say, with my Xtool P2S. We can go back through, reposition these the exact same way. I can feel that they are slotting in just like they did before. I still am taking my time though. I don't want to rush this. There we go. I am back on here. And because of the new feature called reprint, it does not have to do another measuring. We are going to go back to the computer, we're going to hit reprint, and I'm going to show you what it says for that. Alright, so now we're back at the computer. Now hopefully you can see this box, but we have the completion box from the first print on the screen here. And you can see you have a couple different options. You can publish it, you can hit finished, or what we're going to do is hit the reprint button. So just in case you can't read this, it says the system will print again using the same parameters and context as last time. So please ensure that the position, height of the substrate remain consistent with the last print. So what does this mean for you? Much faster prints on repeating items. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. And there you go. And now it's going to go through and print exactly the same way that it did the first two. And we'll check back in yet another probably about 6 minutes. And we'll show you the finished product. And here we are again. So with that reprint feature, we can see that we got right up in the exact same place that we had the last prints. The print went all the way to the edge, super crisp lines, no giant mess on the mat. Same thing goes for this one. Very crispy print. Very happy with that. So I'll put those in my completed pile. And if I wanted to, I could just keep stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking. And you can do that for the entire run on your mat. Now again, if you don't want to do this directly on your standard sticky mat, I have heard of multiple different things that people are using. I'm personally using a silicone mat, but there are other options too. There's transfer paper from like a Cricut, or there is wax paper you might want to try. But at the end of the day, no matter your method, if you do it like this, you are going to get great results because the print head knows exactly where this goes, and the outline that you've left on here gives you perfect placement every single time you want to add a new item. So this is my preferred method. Now let's go on to method number 2. So we've completed option 1, but what about if we've purchased items such as these hat patches and we want to print on those and get those perfectly aligned? Well, as I see it, we have 2 options. Option 1 is unfortunately going the way of the dodo bird, and that is a scanner, which most people nowadays don't have in conjunction with a printer. But option 2, many of you do have, and that is going to be to jump back into Xtool Studios. So, join me there. All right, so here we're going to go and open a new project. And I'm going to connect to my P2S. Okay, so now we're just going to wait for the machine to process a picture. Very good. All right, so here you can see I've got a patch located in the center of the laser. And the reason I did it in the center is so that I could do an auto measure. So we'll go ahead and get that done first. And let's do a targeted one right there. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm also going to take a zoomed picture. And there we are. Now, the reason that we've logged in to our laser here is not to actually laser anything onto the specific patch, but rather we want to get the exact shape. Now, you can print a straight box in the software without an issue. You can even print a rounded corner box, but I want to get this corner exactly correct. So what I'm going to do is do a quick trace around, and I'll show you how I do that. We're going to go to the object tool and then go down to the vector selector. And I'm going to zoom in further here. And basically, well, I'm going to show you with guides just to make it a little easier on you. I'm going to pull a guide right here on this string. A guide on this string, and this string. Okay, so these are intersecting at the points where the patch is turning most notably. So we want to start and stop our corners here and here. So I'm going to go back to the vector tool, and we're just going to place our starting dot there, and then place our next dot there. Come down to the next line. Right there. Next line. Next line. Next line. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, I just Control Z there to get back into it. Hit the line instead of hitting a new waypoint. And then we're going to complete the shape by clicking on our first waypoint. Okay, so now we've completed the shape, but obviously this is not following the shape of the actual patch. So we're going to click on one of the two corners here and change it to total asymmetry. And first we're going to seek back here and grab this one, because we don't want that one changed at all. We want to keep that straight. And just push it back into the starting point. And for this one, I'm going to bring that back over. And right there. And that gives us our radius. And we're just going to do that on all of these at one point, because we only need to do it on one of the 2 points in order to get the angle correct. Now personally, I have found that if you pretty much go straight out from the line, you're generally going to get the smoothest corner transition. And for the most part, that holds true. But just get it to where you think you're just on the outside, because that's what we're going for. And then the same thing, because we did these total asymmetry, we just need to pull this one back in as well, because this is pulling our line out. There we go. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next line. Select it, total asymmetry. Grab the waypoint. Grab that one. And last one, total asymmetry. Push this one into there. And that one really went far out. All right about there. So I can say done now. And that's really the only thing we're going to do with the patch. So from this point, we can move that box around, and what we're going to do now is actually save this, but I want to change it to engrave so that it's the entire shape, not just an outline. So I'm going to click on File, and Export. And again, we're going to choose PNG and confirm. And we'll just name that patch and save it. And that's all we have to do for the Xtool software. So now we're going to jump into Photoshop. Follow along with that. Now that we have Photoshop open, we're going to go ahead and look at our patch that we saved previously. And I'm just going to drag that onto our new artboard. And we're going to shrink it down a little and pull it into the center. Now, as you can see on this picture, it has some jagged edges and didn't exactly come back what we wanted in a square format. But that's okay, because this is not the final form of what I was looking for. The only reason I saved this was because I wanted to make sure that I got the radiuses of the corners correct for this specific patch, so that it will slot into the spot that I make for it on the EufyMake print bed. So we have the patch now applied. I have already measured with my calipers the size of the square patch that I'm going to be making a template of. So I've already taken the measurements of this, so I'm going to put those in right here, and I already have this changed to millimeters, so if you do use this program, you're going to see it starts usually in pixel. You can just right click it and select millimeter. So according to my testing book, the width should be 77.5. And the height is going to be 52. All right, so that is now the size of my actual patch. But what I want to do is actually create a clean, crisp, perfect square. So we're going to do that by choosing the square tool. You can just draw a rectangle here. Very good. And now we're going to do the exact same thing with adjusting the shape and size of this one. So I'm going to right click that, change it to millimeters for both the height and the width. And then I'm going to change that and change that. Okay, so now when we run over this, they should pretty much match up. But what I need to know is how closely I got the corners, because that's the whole purpose behind doing what we did. So I'm just going to move this over until we hit the corner. And then, now that we have this placed in our rough position, you want to grab this little bubble right here, and that is what's going to adjust your radius. So clearly that's far too much. I'm going to guess that 27 is the correct radius for this specific patch. Now we're just going to go down to the other corners. When you're using this tool in Photoshop, it will automatically do all four corners at the same radius. So now I'm just going to adjust this and see if there's an even amount of pixels all the way around the new box. That's looking really good. And I check all four corners just to make sure that we're in the ballpark. Also looks good. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to push it out to 25. And again, you change one corner, and this is going to change all the corners for you. Yeah. I think 27 might have been just a little bit off, so I think 25 looks a little bit better. Yep, okay. So I am now happy with my selection. So from this point, I'm going to actually turn off the bottom two layers and just confirm again that we did not have a size change, 77.5 and 52 millimeters. That's exactly what we wanted. But we're not quite done yet. Now that we've created the rectangle, we need to radicize the layer. So we do that by right-clicking this and click Radicize. And we see that little box that was previously inside of this box is no longer there. So now this is a standard layer that we can select on. So we're going to grab our magic wand tool and select it. And then we're going to come down to the bottom right and create a new layer. Then we're going to hit Edit and Stroke. That color's fine. 10 pixels is also fine. So we're going to hit OK. And now we can hit Control D. That gets rid of the marching ants around our rectangle. We're going to turn off rectangle 1. and we are left with an outline of our patch. So this is what we're actually going to save and import into our EufyMake software. So we'll go ahead and save that now. And we'll just say export, quick export as PNG. And again, just as previously when we exported, we want to export as a PNG, and that is going to enable us to not have a background and not have to worry about wasting white ink being printed on our print bed. Just the outline itself is the only thing we're saving. And we'll label this patch. So save that. Alrighty. Now that that's done, we're going to jump into our EufyMake software. Okay, we've got our EufyMake open, so let's go ahead and jump into a new project. We're going to make sure we're on 0 point. There we go. Now I'm going to load up my patch surround. Very good. Now, just as before with the shark outline, we do not want to resize this. We have already gone to the pain of measuring our patch and creating this outline to perfectly match. So do not let the software resize it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change my ink mode now to 6 layers because I want that little bit of extra ridge on the pad. I'm going to bring it down closer to the bottom again, and then I'm going to copy and paste. And just as before, however many patches you want to create, you can do this the entire way up the print bed. You can pack in as many as you absolutely want, and you'll be able to make sure that they're all placed centrally because you're going to place them inside of this outline and hit print and know that they're going to be correct. So we're going to go ahead and hit print now. And it's going to do a quick height measurement, and then we're going to be off to the races. Okay, we're going to go ahead and send that to the printer. And I'll see you back in about 7.5 minutes. And that turned out great. So now you can see that our patch fits perfectly inside of our template. Now, I applied some painter's tape to the underside of this because I don't want it moving around, and the covering that's protecting the glue on the back side of the patch will slide on this surface. So a little bit of painter's tape to hold down your patch and you should be golden. Now, just as before, we are going to need to make sure that the laser stops somewhere in the middle. So I am just going to throw a couple patches around in the center. They're not going to be printed on. They're just there to catch the laser beam when it first touches the center of the measuring process. So in the meantime, I'm going to add in a second patch. And again, I'm just taking a piece of blue painter's tape, rolling it on itself, and then applying it to the patch, and then squeezing it down like that. Then I line up the one side, push it down. I'm going to support the bed underneath, push down, and now it's perfectly within its boundary marks. So we can go back to the computer and load up our design. Okay, so we have applied our patches to our print bed, and we are now going to jump back into the software to see what the next steps are. So join me back in EufyMake. All right, so we are back on our existing print bed, and we have our two outlines here. First things first, we need to set these to skip printing because we still want to see them and they need to stay there in the print bed, but obviously we don't want to print them again. So those are stayed. Now we need to lock them. So we're going to go to our Layers tab and we're going to select the lock on both of those. So now, no matter what we do, these are not selectable any longer, and they're going to stay locked in their relative positions. So what's the next step? Filling with art. But what if your art is too big for that specific shape? Well, we can jump into Photoshop once again and take another piece to add to our puzzle. All right, so here we are back in Photoshop, right where we left off with our outline active. What we're going to do is just shut that off by clicking on the eyeball, and then we're going to go down to our rectangle that we made previously, that is the actual size of the patch, and we're going to export this now. So you go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and we're just going to name this Patch Inner. Okay. Very good. Now we'll jump back into our EufyMake software, and let's go ahead and load that patch up. And there we go. Now, what do I want to do with this? Well, I want to turn it into a contour. So I'm going to right click it, convert it to a contour, convert. Now, this is an exact size of the patch. And if I zoom in here, we're just going to place it right about there. All right, now let's add some artwork. All right, here we go. So let's stick this one inside of the contour that we created. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. Okay, I'm pretty happy with those margins all the way around. And then we're going to choose this one. Let's shrink him down. And because we have that border, we already are getting a snapping line that's helping us to align the patch. So I think that looks pretty good there. So now on this patch, we're going to see the patch material coming through underneath. This one will be a complete fill from side to side and top to bottom. So now that we have both of those patches filled in, let's go ahead and send it to the print. All right, printer's ready to go. We're going to hit start, and we'll get our estimated time. Looks like it's about 5 minutes, so we'll see you back then. All right, pull off the tape here. And there's our finished patch. We can see we've got edge-to-edge coverage and clean margins all the way around. And on this one, alrighty. So I went ahead and zoomed in on the print bed so you guys could see the outlines that we initially printed for housing our patches. So as you could see, we did not get a large amount of overspray. We did not get half the pattern onto the print bed and half the pattern on the actual patch. Everything laid down exactly as we expected it to, because we went ahead and put down our boundaries. So this is why this is an amazing way to print, whether it's on things that you cut yourself or it's on things that you purchased and wanted to get perfect alignment. So what did you get out of today's video? Well, I hope that you realize that you can cut complex shapes with irregular edges and still get perfect results on your prints that don't require hours of measuring. Or maybe you like doing hat patches and you've been struggling to get your alignments right. Or maybe you're losing part of your print somewhere on the print bed due to fisheye from the camera. Well, This method will also help you get that perfect alignment for all of your future patches or whatever else you needed to print and get aligned just right. So I hope this has helped you guys. Please leave a comment in the comment section below, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.